Okay, so the first exercise I thought would be appropriate just to get things going would be a single leg balance exercise, right? So again, as we get older, you'll read a lot of information on the internet about you need to practice your balance, because, that's going to add a certain amount of years onto your life. But why, right? For me, and teaching and educating a lot of clients, that word is extremely important, right? Understanding why you're doing certain things, right? So you're not just Googling, what sort of exercise should I do to make me feel more balanced? And then there's an exercise that says you need to practice to stand on one leg. Yeah, okay, great. So how many times do I do that? How do I do that? Do I hold on to something? Do I not hold on to something? Do I just randomly stand? So again, it's another exercise again where I feel like there's really just not a lot of detail and quality information about certain exercises that's put out there. Okay, so I'm going to give you my idea of what a single leg stance is and how to balance on your one leg, why we want to do an exercise like that, and possibly give you a little bit of not only just cues about how to do it well and what parts of the body you need to look for, but also maybe a little bit of variations of them, okay? Again, depending on where you're at, I still do these exercises quite regularly because I want to make sure that I'm doing what I teach people to do, and also kind of get the sensation of what needs to happen, and then just make sure that I get better and better at it. Okay, so the single leg stance for me, again, is apart from all the muscles that need to work, right? I'm not going to go too deep into all of the muscles that needs to be able to work. It's basically just a full hip, leg exercise, feet, that kind of stuff, right? So what's important for me, first of all, is to try the best you can, if you feel comfortable and it doesn't cause you any kind of degree of discomfort, is to do an exercise like this with no shoes on, okay? There's a lot of trainers that you can buy now, shoes, trainers, whatever you want to call them, that really kind of disrupts the sensation that you need to be able to feel on your feet, okay? Where your big toe is, where the knuckle behind your big toe is, where your small toe is, where your heel is, and how much pressure that you can distribute through your foot, okay? That's really, really important for many, many lower body exercises, okay? So that's the first thing I want you to encourage you to try and do, right? Don't do it if you feel very uncomfortable and it causes you pain, okay? That's the first thing. Then the second thing, depending on where you're at in your fitness journey, if you struggle with balance and it's a really big concern, then I would encourage you to at least have something close to you to hold on to, okay? That doesn't really matter what it is. It can be the kitchen sink, it can be a wall, it can be the couch, it can be whatever you feel is going to just help you, okay? I also find that a lot of people are really unsure if they should be holding on or should they not be holding on. Are they cheating the exercise if they're holding on too much, right? So that's also where you can just feel how comfortable you feel. If you can stand on one leg and balance and feel comfortable and it doesn't cause you any pain, then great, then you practice it that way with the cues that I'm about to give you. If you feel completely unbalanced and you literally can't stand on one leg, I would rather have you hold onto something and do it well and focus on the things that needs to be focused on, rather than taking your hand off something and basically what you're doing is you're just wobbling all over the place, okay? I'd rather have you do better quality things than anything else, right? If you're going to do an exercise, remember, it's more so about quality than it is about quantity, okay? Always remember that. That's a very, very key concept when it comes to exercise. Okay, so let's jump straight into it. So first of all, again, we spoke about the trainer or the shoe, right? So try and do this bare feet for me, okay? One very, very important way to remember how to do this well is with these single leg exercises is you need to be able to get onto your leg, okay? So the way that we do that is, first of all, we're going to see if you can do a stagger stance position for me like this, right? Where you have your one leg forward, the other leg back. And then when you feel comfortable, we're going to start working on weight distribution, right? So your weight distribution is going to change from 50-50 to more, we're going to go for around about like an 85 to 90 and 10 on the back leg. Okay? When you feel that you've got an adequate amount of weight on top of that leg, this is where you can start playing around with either holding onto something and lifting your leg off the floor, and then see if you can balance and stay nice and soft with the knee. You can play around with the pressures of your feet. Just see again if you can balance on that leg. If you can't, feel free to hold onto something. Okay. Now what's very important here is to remember the way that you stand on your leg is really important, right? So if you're standing on your leg and this is what you look like, this is not ideal, right? You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know if you standing on your one leg like that, that's not ideal. Okay, so remember the way you stand on one leg matters. Okay, so what I would encourage you to do is think about the level of your pelvis. Think about staying nice and tall, right? And when I say staying nice and tall, I don't mean push your chest out and arch your back, right? Standing up tall basically just means trying, it's quite a traditional cue, but it works quite well. If you had to think about a string pulling your head up to the ceiling, just being nice and tall. That doesn't mean you need to change the position of your rib cage. You just want to stand up nice and tall, okay? So we stand nice and tall. You can hang the fingertips onto something that you feel comfortable. Make sure your weight goes over onto this leg. Keep your knee nice and soft. Don't lock your knee out. And keep pressure distributed all over your foot, okay? The heel, say if it's a tripod, so if the thumb is the heel, small toe, big toe, right? That's a tripod of the foot, okay? Then you can lift that leg. You can hold the fingertips if you need to. We stand up nice and tall. And then this is where we're just going to balance, right? You'll feel a nice amount of activity around the glute, hopefully around the quad, maybe a bit of hamstring, possibly a nice amount of feeling around the calf. And that's good, right? It's all those muscles around that leg that's going to be working nice and hard. Okay, right. So that's pretty much the basic cues around how to stand on one leg. And remember again, the way you stand on one leg matters. Okay, I'm going to quickly just cover why we do these exercises. Okay, so for me, again, because we do a lot of work in biomechanics and gait is the crucial one, right? Again, as we travel through age and we get older and we go over 55, 65, 75, falling, as you know, is a huge risk. Okay, so again, an exercise like a single leg stance is fantastic. It's a good way to teach you how to stand on that one leg. But why? Because this is basically one of the phases, or this is what it's going to look like when you're walking, right? Or the phase of gait. Okay, there's a various amount of phases of gait, but this is what you're going to look like. So when that front leg strikes the floor, you're going to have to lift this leg off the floor and lift it over and strike again and get that back heel off, right? So when that foot strikes the floor and this one needs to come up, this is where you need to balance and stabilize in space, okay? When you're unable to do that and you have compensations, weaknesses, variety of different stuff, that is obviously going to be a bit of a problem, right? So the best way you can practice to stand on that leg and get those muscles involved in working and pay attention to positions of your body while you're doing that is obviously crucial and very, very important. Okay, so that's why I said the reason why is extremely important, right? So a big thing for me, again, with these exercises are your understanding and your body awareness of when and why you're doing these exercises is really, really important, right? So if I can teach you that, then obviously that's going to just add a lot more benefit to your journey when you're doing specific exercises. Okay, so I hope that one makes sense. If you got any questions, please feel free to comment, ask me questions. If you got any concerns, if you've tried it and it didn't really work so well and it caused you pain, any kind of questions that you feel is going to be appropriate, please feel free to pop it over and I'll see if I can give you the best answer that I can. Okay, hopefully that's a really nice exercise, a pretty easy one for now to practice. And again, it is a very common one, but I just wanted to give you my personal input into it. All right, until I see you next time, have a great time practicing these. And then again, like I said,